Welcome back to Switzer. Time to talk about a marketing program that's certainly about something. When a New South Wales building society asked megastar Jerry Seinfeld to front their advertising campaign and he said yes, well, it almost sounds like a script from the show. I want to hear all about this one, and the CEO of Greater Building Society, welcome Don Madgen.
Hi Peter, how are you?
Fantastic, mate. Now look, I've got to say, when I heard this, I thought this is just... I always tell the audiences I talk to, the business audiences, that you're going to have a marketing strategy that's like a purple cow, something that stands out from the crowd. Yes. You clearly have gone for something like that with this program.
This was part of a bigger overall strategy for the society.
Yeah.
We looked at how we could raise our brand profile and raise our awareness, and this was a fantastic way for us to do it. We aimed for the top and we actually achieved it. It was quite an outstanding effort.
Well, the great American business writer Jim Collins always says you want big, hairy, audacious goals. This was a massive, audacious goal. When someone said, why don't we ask Jerry Seinfeld, did everyone look at him and say, yeah, sure?
It was a little bit of that, Peter. I mean, we did aim as high as we possibly could go, and we thought we had a budget for what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, let's aim for the top. Let's try and see if we can get someone like Jerry Seinfeld. We did approach him and through his agent, and this was just before Christmas last year, and to our surprise, quite quickly they came back and said, look, we're actually interested in doing this. It sounds like it might be a little bit of fun. So, it just went from there. It was a bit of a roller coaster ride.
Who came up with this Waiaumaki idea? Was it internal to Greater, or was it your advertising agency?
No, the advertising agency was involved, but this came from our own head of marketing.
Yeah.
It was his idea to do something, as you said, that was going to be the purple cow, that something that was going to stand out and make us really be someone who people would sit up and take a little bit of notice of. And the concept of using a high-profile celebrity was just a concept that was part of our overall strategic plan. But the choice of Seinfeld had a lot of logic behind it. We did a lot of research to determine someone who would have universal appeal, someone that represented a little bit of our brand and be a little bit cheeky and have a little bit of fun with it.
Right.
So the whole concept came from our head of marketing, John Dwyer.
John Dwyer, we must give him a hats off for that one. Is Newcastle, as a city, a big fan of Seinfeld? Have you tested that demographic out?
We did test across not just Newcastle, but of all of our area. I mean, we cover a fairly large geographical area within regional New South Wales and southeast Queensland, and we did do a lot of research to make sure that within those particular markets that Seinfeld was someone who was quite well loved, and that seemed to be fairly universal, not just in those areas but across all of Australia.
Did someone come up with the smart aleck remark that, is this the building society about nothing? Because the show was based on nothing. But it really was based on something. So
To be honest, Peter, neither John Dwyer or myself were actually Seinfeld fans.
Oh, really?
This was more done through logic and research rather than something that came from the heart and thinking, well, this is someone that we both really enjoy watching the program. We'll choose this particular person. It was done more around research and doing some analysis of the person that typified the sort of image that we were trying to promote.
Okay. Well, before I ask a couple other questions about the actual process, what is this typical image that you're talking about?
We think we're a real alternative to the major banks. We see ourselves as perhaps a little terrier nipping at their heels. We've done all of our advertising in the past has had an element of humour around it. It's had, I suppose, being able to poke a little bit of fun at the banks.
Yeah.
So we've tried to find someone that would deliver that same message across to that audience, but do it in a way that would get a lot more attention than what we would do without a profile like Seinfeld.
Okay, now before I start asking some more serious questions about this wonderful campaign, well, we haven't actually seen the ad so far. Well, I think it's about time we had a look at the ad, and then we'll come back with the serious questions after that.
Excellent.
Take it away, guys.
Got a show to do. Excuse me. comes to your money, you don't want great, you want greater. It's like maximum. When I go to a drugstore to get pain medication, I want maximum strength. Figure out what will kill me, and then back it off a little bit. Where are you from?
Here.
Well, it's nice to have you back.
The Greater Building Society has one of the highest customer satisfaction ratings in the world. If you want to know why, speak to an expert. Ask a Greater customer.
Anybody here from Wagga Wagga? Don't miss me next week. I'll be in front of the laundromat.
Well, it certainly is memorable, mate. You must have loved it when you saw it.
Oh, look, the other great thing about this is we have so much material as well. It's not like a normal campaign with a celebrity where you get 1 or 2 commercials and that's about it. We've got enough material to do us for around about 30 television commercials. So we had 2 full days of shooting with Jerry Seinfeld, and we've got an
So you went over there and played the pesty chief executive who wanted to know the big star. He's probably working you into a routine as we speak.
No, I didn't actually go for the television shoot. I did meet him prior to that. I went over with...
Just to make sure he suited your standards.
Look, it was more to discuss around the creative of what we were trying to achieve, to give him a little bit of a feel for the Greater Building Society and what we thought we'd like to get out of those commercials.
OK. Well, let's have an idea. How big is the Greater Building Society?
We're one of Australia's top 500 private companies, according to Business Review Weekly.
Yeah.
We're around about $4 billion in asset size. We have around 800 employees, and we've got the largest branch network of any building society in Australia, which is 66 branches.
OK. And where are you? Are you exclusively in New South Wales, or have you started to creep into other states?
New South Wales and South East Queensland. We've got branches in that lower end of Queensland as well. But again, this is part of a longer-term strategy for us to expand our business. We've been very successful, particularly in those regional areas of New South Wales and our traditional area of the Hunter. But we just think that this formula that we've got can let it enable us to get into to new areas.
Yeah, and in a sense, because of the credit crunch and the lack of securitisation funds, it's really important for you to grow your depositors base to give you the kind of monies to take on the banks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's probably with securitisation, it's an area we neglected a little bit. And I think the global financial crisis has made us refocus on the fact that we want to have an equal focus on retail deposits as much as we want to have on lending. And this is a great way for us to get out there and promote those deposit products as well as our lending products.
So you are emphasising deposit products. Are you saying that your deposit products actually compare quite well in terms of interest rates compared to the banks?
Yeah, look, we think our strengths are our very competitive rates and low fees and great service. I mean, we've got a 97% customer satisfaction level, and you just don't see that with the banks.
No. You don't put your customers on medication before you ask them the questions. 97%.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
And that's been consistent over the last 4 or 5 years. So.
OK, so I figure you have a board.
Yes.
When you come up with this harebrained idea of Jerry Seinfeld, some people must have said, what's this going to cost? Now, I'm sure you're not going to give me the figure. Well, are you going to give me the figure? What
I'm sorry, I can't.
He would have told, Jerry wouldn't have allowed you to do it. But have you calculated the value of media you've got so far?
We're currently doing that. We've been quite blown away by the amount of media coverage we've got before the campaign even started.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite possible we've got enough media coverage that actually paid for the campaign before we even put it to air.
Yeah, and I guess you also have shown ING what they missed out on, because they introduced Billy Connolly, but they didn't. There was no fanfare. You just sort of bobbed up. You've got a lot of free publicity, e.g., my program tonight.
Yes.
Because you've actually realised the media value of it all.
Yes. And again, a lot of that's out of our control. I mean, we can't force the media to pick up on this campaign, but I think...
I know, we're nincompoops, mate. We like things like Seinfeld. It adds to our products.
And that only reinforces the research that we did that said Seinfeld in Australia is universally loved. No, I mean, there's going to be some people who are obviously going to be against this campaign. Our feel at the moment is about 95% positive, perhaps 5% negative. But yes, certainly the fact that he is such a high-profile personality has generated an extra media coverage that we didn't anticipate we were going to get. OK,
so where to now for Greater Building Society? Where do you think you'll be, say, in 12 months' time in terms of size?
Look, I think there's still a lot of growth for us in our existing markets. Again, given the current financial climate, I'm not sure that we should be out there expanding our branch network dramatically at the moment. We've got part of our strategic plan is to continue to open branches, and we'll do that. In terms of getting into new geographic regions, that's longer term than 12 months. So within 12 months, I think we want to be able to say that we've given the banks a bit of a shake in our existing markets.
And I guess what your hope is that your drag customers currently in your target area away from the banks and reconsider your product if they've ever moved away. Of course they don't, 97% customer service, but you won't see yourself as an alternative to the banks.
Look, we think we've got such a great story to tell. We are a mutual building society. We're there for our members, and we just think that the banks for so long have treated their customers a lot less beneficially than the way we have.
Yeah.
We're seeing a decline in competition in the financial industry at the moment by virtue of some of those other players being taken out by the major banks, and this is an opportunity for us to step up and fill that gap.
Yeah, and have you gone back in time to look at what the likes of St George and NSW Permanent did in those days? Because they, in a sense, took on the banks in those days as well. And I guess you guys were there as well, but it is an old formula. People do like the building societies, don't they?
They do. But I think that the problem in any of these situations is good old Australian complacency. We've got to try and shock them into moving, and I think part of that Seinfeld strategy is to really make them sit up and take a bit more notice of the alternative players in the marketplace. So don't just accept the fact that perhaps the banks are the only offer out of there. Look at some of the alternatives.
And certainly as an entrepreneurial thing, you've looked for the innovation, you've had the courage to spend some money, but the end result, well, I guess will be measured in a year or so, but I think even on your media calculations, you're probably going to at least break square.
We're pretty happy so far, yes.
Mate, thanks for joining us on Switzer, and I'd like to get you back in a year's time and tell me the results of this wonderful program.
I would love to. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.